Going in, baby, I love you like cook food. You know, I'm a whole gangster, tough dude. I'll see you soon. I love you like cook food.
I love you too.
Caswell Sr., aka Casanova 2 times, born October 27th, 1986. When Brooklyn rapper Casanova 2 times first hit the scene, he looked like a throwback to a time hip-hop had long moved on from. In an era defined by dance challenges, face tattoos, and clout-chasing antics, Casanova's energy felt raw, dangerous, and real. Maybe even too real for the times he was about to enter. He wasn't trying to be friendly, politically correct, or marketable. He wanted to be feared, respected, and remembered. The problem was, the game he was trying to play no longer existed. By 2016, hip-hop had entered its social media boom. Personalities mattered more than albums, and artists like 6ix9ine, Black Youngsta, and Tay-K were proving that chaos sold better than skill. Casanova, with his booming voice, jail-hardened image, and viral temper, fit right into that moment. He didn't need to rap about violence, he was violence. Every appearance, every video, every post carried the same message. He was realer than the rest. And at first, it worked. His breakout single, Don't Run, became an anthem for authenticity in a game full of characters. Roc Nation took notice and a deal followed. Casanova 2 times looked like the next to blow. But fame for Casanova became its own addiction. I remember Mike Tyson said he'd rather be famous than rich, and Casanova seemed to enjoy the spotlight more than the money it brought, chasing viral moments and conflicts the same way artists today chase algorithms. You could tell he loved the attention, the comparisons to 50 Cent, the aura of being hip-hop's new villain. The problem is, the industry and the law had changed. What 50 got away with in the early 2000s became federal evidence in 2020. Casanova didn't see that shift until it was too late. In 2020, he was charged in a sweeping RICO case tied to the Gorilla Stone Nation gang, accused of conspiracy, drug trafficking, and violent crimes. He eventually pled guilty and was sentenced to over 15 years in prison. Just like that, his rise ended, not because he fell off musically, but because he couldn't separate the artist from the image. For a brief moment, Casanova represented the last bridge between street authenticity and mainstream success. But instead of crossing it, he burned it behind him. For someone who once said, "I don't want to be famous, I want to be rich," his story became the opposite. What happened? Let's talk about it. Salute to Florida's _finest05 on IG for this request. It's your boy JC, Stunted Growth Music. Let's get it, man. Take a minute to like, subscribe, and comment on who I should do next. Casanova 2 times is a rapper from Brooklyn, New York, whose reputation was forged in the streets long before the spotlight. Raised in Flatbush, he spent much of his youth in and out of prison, serving a 7-year sentence starting at 18 years old. It was at this time a cellmate named him Casanova 2 times, a title that stuck and later inspired his rap moniker. Though he didn't initially plan to rap, his time behind bars gave him stories and perspective that would later define his music. After his release, he connected with producer U-Dub of NY Bangers and recorded Don't Run in 2016, a gritty anthem that spread quickly through Brooklyn for its authentic energy. The success drew attention from Roc Nation, who signed him in 2017 and released his debut project Commissary the following year. For the first time, Casanova 2 times had a legitimate platform to turn his hard-earned reputation into a career. Stunt number 1, fame over foundation. From the start, Casanova 2 times seemed more focused on recognition than artistic development. He had the voice, the presence, and charisma to become a serious rap figure, but his attention leaned toward fame, proving his realness to an audience that rewarded chaos over consistency. During the viral era of 2016 to 2018, being loud, controversial, or threatening online often meant more attention than releasing great music. Casanova played that game well, but never realized it was one with no real winners. Instead of building a signature sound or developing as a songwriter, he doubled down on his image. Every interview felt like a declaration of toughness, every social media clip another reminder that he wasn't a character, he was who these rappers pretended to be. Fans loved that energy, but it also became all they expected from him. He boxed himself into an identity that was impossible to outgrow. When the cameras were off, people didn't talk about his songs, only the way he carried himself. Even with Roc Nation backing him, Casanova couldn't transition into the mainstream. His authenticity made him respected, but not marketable, and on the edge of danger daily. To radio programmers and brand partners, he looked unpredictable, the kind of artist who might go viral for the wrong reasons at any time. It's what made 50 Cent a legend in a different era, but in Casanova's time, the internet moved too fast and the laws too close to the screen. By the time he released Commissary in 2018, the wave had shifted. 6ix9ine's rainbow-colored chaos dominated headlines, and Casanova's brand of realism started to feel outdated in comparison. He could have balanced that moment with maturity, but chose to compete instead. In doing so, he sacrificed longevity for attention, the most dangerous trade an artist can make. Stunt number 2, the streets never let him go. For all the success Casanova 2 Times was beginning to see, the streets he came from never truly released their hold on him. He carried those connections like armor, proud to show that fame hadn't changed who he was. That attitude won him respect, but cost him his freedom. In hip-hop, staying, quote, real has always been a tightrope. One wrong move and you fall right back into the same world you fought to escape. Casanova walked that line daily, still moving with the same people and energy that once made him feared. When he first caught buzz, fans loved that his story was authentic. He wasn't pretending to be street, he was the streets. But that same authenticity became the danger he couldn't outrun. Federal agents had been monitoring the very world he was attached to, and in December 2020, he was indicted alongside 17 others in a federal RICO case targeting the untouchable Gorilla Stone Nation. Casanova was accused of racketeering, drug trafficking, and violent crimes, including assault with a deadly weapon. The charges instantly froze his career. Though he claimed to have separated himself from that life, prosecutors painted a different picture. They used his lyrics, interviews, and social media presence as evidence that his persona wasn't an act. In a digital era where perception can become proof, Casanova's image worked against him. Facing up to 60 years, he pled guilty in May 2022 to racketeering and narcotics conspiracy. A year later, in June 2023, he was sentenced to over 15 years in prison. What made the story even more tragic was how close he was to stability. He built industry relationships, had Roc Nation support, and was starting to find his artistic lane. But loyalty to the streets and the need to stay fair ultimately erased everything he worked for. Stunt number 3, time took everything. Casanova's prison sentence didn't just pause his career, it erased it. At 36 years old, when he was sentenced to over 15 years in federal prison, he'll spend the rest of what should have been his prime years behind bars. Even if released early for good behavior, he'll be pushing 50. By then, the rap game that once embraced him will be long gone. Hip-hop evolves in months, not decades. Artists rise and fade faster than trends, and time is the one opponent no one outruns. Casanova's presence was always his greatest strength. His voice, his tone, and physical dominance made him feel larger than life. But his entire brand required being outside, touching the people, showing his face. Prison has silenced that completely. He's missing not just moments, but movements. The shift toward TikTok virality, melodic drill, and new generation New York artists redefining what toughness even sounds like. By the time he reappears, the world will barely recognize him. What makes it sting more is that Casanova seemed ready to evolve right before his fall. In interviews leading up to his arrest, he talked about peace, investing in his future, and leaving the streets behind. There was a maturity creeping in, a man aware of how easily everything could vanish. Then it did. He'd finally gained the connections and wisdom to make a long career possible, yet never got to use them. Now his name survives only in headlines, a reminder of how quickly promise can turn to permanence. For someone who built a career off surviving everything, time became the one enemy he couldn't fight. His music froze in 2019, but the world kept moving. By the time Casanova walks free, the industry he chased will belong to a generation that never knew him, a punishment more permanent than his sentence itself. All in all, Casanova 2 Times' story is a reminder that talent and toughness can take you far, but awareness keeps you there. He came up during an era built on attention where being loud and visible often mattered more than having vision. For a while, that energy made him a star. But when the camera stopped flashing, there was no foundation to fall back on, only the same habits and environment he once tried to escape. In the end, Casanova didn't lose because he lacked music, drive, or fans. He lost because he never learned how to let go of the life that built him. Now, as he serves his time away from the world he fought to dominate, his story stands as one more example of how pride can outlast potential. The saddest part is, for once, Casanova finally understood what growth meant. Just a moment too late. Salute, much respect. But for these reasons, his growth was stunted. It's your boy JC, Stunted Growth Music. Mo.